Hi, and welcome to Low Carb Me and You. I'm Alexander, and today we're making low carb peanut butter and chocolate chip cookies. Everyone likes a good cookie from time to time, no matter if that's a cookie with your coffee break or to satisfy a 30 cookies per minute craving. These will definitely hit the spot. There are a few challenges with making delicious cookies that are low carb, sugar free, and gluten free, but not to worry, I've got you covered. I've experimented with various recipes to see what works best to create a soft, chewy, and tasty peanut butter and chocolate chip cookie. No fancy tools or ingredients needed. To make these cookies, you'll need the following ingredients: almond flour, peanut butter, eggs, sugar-free chocolate, erythritol, and baking powder. Make sure that everything is at room temperature. All ingredients are listed in the description. Let's do a little bit of prep before we make the dough. You can use any kind of chocolate you prefer, though I recommend dark chocolate for a nice contrast with the peanut butter. If you have them, you can buy chocolate chips, but a bar of chocolate will work as well. Just make sure it's sugar-free. If you have a bar of chocolate, just cut it into small chunks. Don't leave them too big, as that will impact shaping the cookies later. We'll also want to grind the almond flour to a finer consistency. We have a lot of wet ingredients, so if you don't grind the almond flour, it'll end up as a denser cookie. Finer almond flour gives you more softness. You can grind the almond flour together with the baking powder in a food processor. About 30 seconds at a low speed will do. Adding the baking powder in this stage also makes sure it's properly mixed in. Now let's make that dough. I recommend the use of a standing mixer with a paddle or dough attachment, but a hand mixer will work too. Start off by creaming the butter and erythritol. It's a fairly low volume, so you might want to get in there to scrape the bowl and push everything together a few times. You can substitute the erythritol with a sweetener of your choice. The amount used just adds a bit of sweetness. You can increase the amount for a sweeter cookie. Once you've got creamy butter, you can add the eggs one at a time. Make sure to incorporate the egg as much as possible before adding the next one. It will not properly emulsify yet, but give it your best shot anyway. The butter will mostly just break into smaller chunks. Don't forget to keep scraping that bowl. 2 eggs seem like a lot at this point, but the extra egg makes the cookie a bit more moist and adds strength to hold it together. Now add your peanut butter and mix it in. At this stage it will all start to come together and you'll get a very creamy butter. It's up to you whether you want to use crunchy or smooth peanut butter. I prefer crunchy as that gives the cookies just a bit of texture as well. What is important is that you use the runny kind of peanut butter. If you use the drier and solid kind, your cookies will have a similar mouthfeel. You know, the kind of feeling when you eat a big spoonful of peanut butter straight out of the jar. Next up is to add the almond flour. Just add it all at once and mix until incorporated. This step doesn't take very long, maybe 15 seconds of mixing. You don't want to overmix it as the baking powder will start to do its magic once it all comes together. Finally, also add the chocolate chips. All we need is to distribute them. So just spin that mixer for a few seconds and it's ready. Right now you have a very soft and sticky dough. If you put this into the oven, the cookies will run and become a bit of a mess. So we're going to freeze the dough. Put the dough on some plastic wrap. We're going to make a dough sausage. Because it's sticky and soft, it may take a bit of work to properly shape it, but it doesn't need to be precise. You should end up with a roll that's about 5 centimeters or 2 inches in diameter. Twist the ends to close it and tuck them in. Put this roll in your freezer for about 30 to 45 minutes. Start preheating your oven to 180 Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit just before you take the dough out of the freezer. You know your dough is ready when you can hold the sausage without it sagging. It needs to be firm and hold shape. All that we now need to do is cut it into slices. Remove the plastic wrap, but leave it under as to not have it stick to your work surface. Just use a knife to cut slices of about half a centimeter or a quarter inch thick. You'll end up with about 20 cookies this way. You'll notice that sometimes you might get stuck into a piece of chocolate. Just gently push through and it should be fine. You can always fix the shape, but this is where you run into trouble if your chunks are too big. Keep in mind not to touch the dough too much with your hands, as that'll warm up and soften the dough again. Transfer your cookies to a baking paper lined sheet. You don't have to worry about the cookies expanding a lot. This dough will retain its shape and size. Just give them even spacing for even cooking times. Then bake the cookies for 14 to 16 minutes in your preheated oven. They're properly cooked when they've started to turn brown on the outside. Let them cool on the baking sheet for about 3 minutes. Then transfer them to a wire rack to cool completely. You can store these scrumptious cookies in an airtight container for about 2 weeks, which gives you an excuse to have 2 a day. Who'd want to waste a good cookie, right? These cookies also double as fat bombs, and they're packed with good nutrients and minerals from all of the nuts. This recipe makes for 20 cookies. These are the macros per cookie: 1.6 grams of carbs, 4 grams of protein, 12 grams of fat, and about 135 calories. Enjoy your cookies. Like and subscribe for more low-carb baked goodies. Stay cooking, stay low-carb, and let your taste buds dance with delight.